So this 2008 Polaris Sportsman 800 came into the shop for a couple different reasons. One, listen to this thing. This is very common on these Sportsman 800s. Hear that noise in the engine? One of the other reasons is the fuel gauge isn't working. As far as that engine noise goes, it's fairly common on these Polaris Sportsman 800 twins. Even when these things are brand new, the oil pumps are pretty loud, kind of ticky in these. These are old style push rod engines. This one definitely has a little extra noise to it. Actually had a similar sounding Sportsman 800 last year. That thing had about 6,000 miles on it. Ended up tearing the top end off, and what I found was actually piston slap I was hearing. I'm gonna go ahead and throw a bore scope down this one and see what it looks like. Let's see how the maintenance has been. A little dusty in there, but they're running their pre-filter. That's good. Dust is one of the biggest things that'll take out your top end on these things. Okay, that's probably what's going on. Remember how I said dust is one of the biggest killers at the top end? Well, they're running their pre-filter and everything, but dust is actually getting in through this cracked intake tube. That's not good. Let's check the boot going into the engine. From what I can tell, that looks good. The older Sportsman 600s, I've seen a ton of those with cracked intake boots. So we are certainly going to have to replace this one. Nice and clear. It's full. That's good. We'll give it the sniff test. Make sure it doesn't smell gassy. It doesn't. Checking your oil is always important, especially important on this. These Sportsman 800s only hold 2 quarts. So to fix the fuel level gauge, to pull this front fairing off to get to the fuel tank, it'll be easier to put the bore scope down it with that fuel tank removed anyways. It doesn't have to be done, but that's coming out anyways. Might as well do that first. Once again, I don't have to pull the fuel tank out to pull the sending unit or to get to the spark plug. At this point, it's only 2 bolts and it'll make it a lot easier. Then check our connections here to the sending unit. Actually looks pretty good. They're not corroded. They're nice and greased up. I might as well fire up the old Autel. This takes a while to boot up, so I'll let that boot up while I'm pulling the plugs here. Alright, let's go ahead and pull these plugs out. Alright, so this thing, yeah, she's good. There we go. So as you can see, it's got a light on it. Very fine tip, so it fits through any spark plug holes. And check this plug. Okay, so right there you can tell she's definitely got some scarring. Go ahead and remove this because we got to change this intake, and I want to see how much dust is in there. So you can see the dust in there already. Yep, you've seen some dust. They're all cleaned up. Looking nice and clean in there now. As far as the sending unit goes, we'll find out. That is very, very clean in there. So I put this back in here so the pump wouldn't run dry. I'm almost thinking the float was stuck, or it's not floating for some reason, because if we look now, it's working. So I hooked it all back up, looked in there. What's going on is the float is actually not floating. Float's defective, needs a new float. Absolutely need one of those. So now I gotta let the owner know and see what they want to do. I'm pretty sure they're not gonna have me do a top end in it. I've seen those last a long time with piston slap. However, eventually it could crack the skirt. You know, if she starts burning oil, that's a pretty good reason to do it. As far as I know, I don't think it does burn any oil. We did discuss the top end. I was telling them when I first heard it that I thought that was it. So I have a brand new one right here. Now these are the same exact thing, and this is way lighter. So this thing must be like gasoline soaked or something inside. And that's what's causing it not to float. When you're putting it on, it's no big deal, but the only thing you want to do when you're taking this off is be very careful with these tabs because they can break. But all it does is sit in here and then snap into place. Now we should be good there. We'll go ahead and put it back in the tank. This thing's got to go in here just so. All right, there's that. Now, so we got a brand new Polaris one in the package here. I'm gonna remove the sensor, air box, so this can come right out. Right, move our filter. Now that air box is pretty filthy. Probably better go clean her up. That looks a little better. Goes in here just like so. And just like that, we're in. Go ahead and reinstall this. All right, let's check that fuel gauge. Perfect. Half tank it shows, that's about right. All right, in goes this spacer. I really hope that wasn't the last time this thing was serviced. If so, that might explain a little bit of that rattle sound in the top end. Also gonna do a service on this, change the oil. Let's get to it. Ooh, that is on there. Ooh, that filter has been on there for a couple days. Two quarts of oil and a filter. Alright, we'll fill this up with some oil. So while I'm working on that Sportsman 800, I decided to bring this old Arctic Cat Jag in. This is an Arctic Cat Jag 2000, 1975, I believe it is. Very nice shape for the year. You know, I figured get it in here, get it up in the air, get it thawing. These old sleds are always a pain. So with this snowmobile lift, with a newer sled, it slides right under the front. These arms go on each side of the track. Then you jack it up, it works slick. However, with these old sleds, they're way too narrow and too low to even get this jack under it. You gotta do is you gotta lift the front up and push that in. I lifted it up, pushed it in with my foot a little bit, you know, got it as much as I could, and then I had the bright idea. I'll stand on top of the jack, lift the front end up, and then I'll pull the sled back. When I stood on top of that jack, lifted the sled up, I went right under the sled with the jack. Oh, landed right on my tailbone. Oh, I thought I was gonna feel that. Surprisingly, I don't feel that at all. All I feel is my freaking shoulder. I must have pulled something there. My ankle is some sore right now. But yeah, after all that, I got it in there, went to jack it up, and my jack failed on me. What happened? Looking at the threads here, they're in good shape. There are no threads left in that. So now I gotta run to town, see if they got a nut the same thread and pitch as that, and then I'll weld it in there. Get this old Arctic Cat Jag fixed up. That was just a mistake for the day, I guess. Back to the Sportsman 800. So we're also gonna drop the front differential fluid. Ooh, definitely black, and definitely some shavings on there. Go ahead and reinstall our drain plug. Unfortunately, I don't think there was a whole lot of maintenance done on this machine. When I asked when the last time the oil was changed, she just kind of shrugged her shoulders and didn't really remember when, so I'm guessing there's definitely been a lack of maintenance on that thing. All right, so these front diffs are going to take demand dry fluid. We'll go ahead and fill this right up. See, that's what the color of the fluid should look like. So that was a very, very black. All right, then we'll just sneak in here and start pumping. And we just want to fill it up until it starts leaking out, just like that. It really don't hold a whole lot. I believe it's around 6 ounces. Now this specific Sportsman 800 has the ADC, active descent control. So these machines that have that ADC, when you're using them, active descent control, you put it in ADC, you're going down a hill, it's gonna really help you slow down. When the fluid gets low or becomes contaminated, you'll notice some noises coming out of there, some bad noises usually. Usually it's like a very metallic-y grinding sound. When I tried this out to begin with, I tried that active descent control. It did have a little noise in it, so we're definitely gonna change that fluid. You need to service that fluid as well in the front diff. It's a separate part. Some people look at this and think it's brake fluid. This is not brake fluid. This is for your ADC, and it runs right down into the differential. So what we got to do, we got to pull this cap off right there. We'll come in here, check the fluid out. It's actually full. We're going to use the same demand drive fluid as you can see right here. Special additives to prevent ADC clutch chatter. So this is specifically designed for that. First thing we're going to do is fill this up to the max line. Right there. What we want to do is open this bleeder screw until you see fluid coming out of it. There's the fluid. We're going to let that drain. Now when you're draining this, you don't want the fluid to go below this plastic container, otherwise you're going to get air pockets trapped in there. And same thing when you put this back together and you use that active descent control, you're going to hear some bad noises because of that trapped air. We're getting down there. Fill that back up, just like so. And we'll just clean up our mess, put our little plastic protector back on. Now we're good to go. We'll move on. Next on our list is the transmission fluid. That one's pretty dark as well. A little bit of shavings on there. That's got some chunks on it. They are very, very thin. I'm fairly certain there's supposed to be a magnet in there, and there's not. Not sure where that went. All right, we'll reinstall our plug. Then our fill plug is located in the back of the transmission. Then we'll fill this up with 15 ounces of AGL. Around that 15 ounce, it'll start leaking out. Once it's all done leaking, you can go ahead and reinstall your plug. Last but not least, we'll drain our rear differential. Oh, look at that. That's a little metallic-y. This one will take the angle drive fluid. But honestly, for that rear differential, any 80-90 gear oil will work for that. Reinstall our plug. Now our filler plug is conveniently located right in the back, so very easy to get to. 5 ounces of the angle drive fluid, or 80-90. It's basically 80-90. Very thick stuff. With 5 ounces in there, you can see it's not quite up to the top. And it specifically says in the service manual, in big bold letters, do not overfill. So 5 ounces only. All right, now that we did a full service on this 2008 Polaris Sportsman 800, let's get her back together and try her out. Got her all back together. Let's give her a whirl. This blue is sharp on this thing. I always like the blue. This is painted plastics on this thing. Cleaned her up a little bit. I don't have any run of, my water's froze to the garage right now, so a little hard to actually give it a bath. But I did the best I could. Definitely hear that tapping sound I was talking about. Go ahead and try that active descent control. Let off the throttle. Yeah, it's making a little noise still. But it slows down good. Look at the trees now. trees down in the trail right now. This is one thing I never liked about the Polarises, the older ones anyways. When you put them in reverse, your four-wheel drive doesn't work unless you use that override button. I know it's a safety feature, but I still don't like it. So watch, I'm gonna push that override button. See that four-wheel drive light pop up? Now the four-wheel drive will work. Pretty good. Well, on to the next project.